guys, welcome back to another week of Mortgage Matters in Minutes. I'm your host, Brent Rasmussen, owner of Mortgage Specialists. So today we're going to talk about the first-time homebuyer loan options and explain many of them that are out there because I think here with the market adjusting and changing that there's still a lot of options on the table for buyers as the markets open up for more buyers and more sellers. So let's get into that here today and talk about, first of all, in 2025, what does it mean to be a first-time home buyer? And also, before we get into that, please like and subscribe below to obtain more information from us, generally on a weekly basis, to make sure you're educated in the process of buying homes with mortgages. So, definition of first-time home buyer basically means you have not owned a home in the last 3 years. A lot of times people will quite get this confused, meaning someone gets married and they are not on the loan or the original purchase, but marriage will trump that. Marriage will automatically give you home ownership rights. So just because you didn't close on a house and show up and sign documents does not mean you're not a first-time home buyer. Just in a different way, you obtained home ownership through marriage. But what we look at, obviously, is if you've not owned a home in the last 3 years, there might be some added benefits and options out there for you to purchase a home. We're going to talk about a lot of those options, but we also want to stress that you still want to compare all of your options. And we'll talk about that here, why. In regards to first-time homebuyer loans, many of them are going to have income limits, meaning you can only make so much in income, or they're going to have loan amount limits, meaning you can only buy or have a home loan up to a certain number. So they have thresholds there on those activities to help the low to moderate income individuals. If you're making absorbent amounts of money, in these first-time homebuyer loans that are not available to you, unfortunately. So you can look up the income thresholds. They are public record. It's out there. It's called Area Median Income, AMI, and you can Google that for every county in America, and that will give you what that threshold is. Some first-time homebuyer loans are going to be at 50% of your adjusted median income or area median income. Some could be at 80%. Some can be at 100%. USDA can go up to 115% of your area median income. So knowing that right away out of the gate of what your income is will determine if you may qualify for a first-time homebuyer loan program. So the credit and income is going to be very much the similar, if not the same, for these types of loans, that they still want you to have adequate credit. The goal of a first-time homebuyer loan is maybe to give a little bit less of a down payment and possibly give you a little price break on mortgage insurance and on your interest rate. And that's because they're going to require you to take a first-time homebuyer course. They're not complicated. It's a couple hours of your time. It's not a high school or college course. It's just explaining to you budgeting, what to look for, loans, how the process goes down. So let's talk quickly about a few different options that are out there. FHA is what people most of the time think of as a first-time homebuyer loan. You do not need to be a first-time homebuyer to take out an FHA loan. The F and the H is not first-time homebuyer, but we get that all the time when people are Googling information online. FHA can be much more flexible on the credit, but the negative of FHA is that it's going to have a little bit more expensive mortgage insurance in regards or comparison to conventional VA, USDA. Conventional loan options have some of the best first-time homebuyer loan options available. As little as 3% down with lower mortgage insurance, lower interest rates. Those can compete all day long with many other options that are out there, and that's generally what we're looking for. First of all, is to make sure that that conventional first-time homebuyer loan is an option for you. What's nice about that type of loan is over the long term, there's not any negative features that could possibly come up, such as grants or investment finance authority options, things like that. VA loans are not specifically towards first-time home buyers, but you as a first-time home buyer can use a VA loan, and it's one of the greatest loans out there because it has no down payment and there's no mortgage insurance. So if you are a past veteran or you have enough entitlement hours through one of the branches, then VA is a great option for you. USDA are loans in our rural communities of less than 25,000 in population. So obviously the Omaha area and suburbs generally doesn't qualify, but as you get outside into rural Nebraska, rural Iowa, those USDA loans are also very good because they don't require a down payment. Last is what people like to always look around for is the grant loans, the NIFA loans, the special state programs that will give incentives, i.e., money, will give a special possibly help with the down payment loan, or just give you money itself for a down payment. The good and bad about those is that there are options that are out there. Sometimes those grants go away. NIFA doesn't, but you still have the income limits that go with it. So when we're looking at loans, we're looking at your whole situation. I know that's challenging because some consumers want the answer before they apply for a loan, but until we can actually look at all of your situation, i.e., income, where you've lived, what you've done, because the rules for some grants and NIFAs are going to look at your income differently than if you went standard FHA conventional VA. So we know all these different kind of ins and outs and rules. Obviously, the one thing I can tell you is you're not going to get something for free, or as your parents may have said, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Generally speaking, that's how we feel. We want clients to be knowledgeable and know that there's first-time homebuyer loans out there. But is it a problem that solves for every single person? No, not necessarily. They're very, very good. They work for many, many clients, but we want to look at all options to make sure that you are educated so that you know what you're getting into. As I can see, many people get into a home, but they might, especially as a first-time homebuyer, outgrow their home very quickly with a family, and then may need to do something the second time around, and we might run into a little bit challenges with that being the case. So for any kind of special first-time homebuyer loan, they're going to look at a lot more information, a lot more paperwork, especially when it comes to grants and finance authorities. They're going to ask for much more paperwork, and there's going to be a lot of rules extra being followed. A couple things to avoid, obviously, in regards to some of these first-time homebuyer loans, is making sure you're still talking to someone that has access and knows about the different loan programs. Not always is a first-time homebuyer loan the best option for you, but many of the times it can be. One of the negatives that can exist out there is with the seller still having a lot of say in the first-time homebuyer price range. The seller might not like your grant loan or your first-time homebuyer loan or your FHA loan or your NIFA loan. They might require you to take out a conventional loan. Why is that? Because it's less risky for the seller. We've talked about that a lot of times. So while we can find you the best loan option for you, it doesn't always mean that the market is going to allow you to take that type of financing. And that's hard to understand. Why would the seller care at all about what I'm trying to accomplish or do? Well, they do because they don't want the risk of a week before closing, 2 days before closing, something being caught and found out, and now the transaction is not being completed and gone through. So I would always advise you to look at all loan options side by side. So if for some reason a seller come back and says, hey, I don't like that type of financing, you can whip out the next pre-approval letter that says I can do conventional financing if you're still interested in that house. And conventional has first-time homebuyer loan options that are available to you. So it's understanding and knowing it all. And I can tell you as a first-time homebuyer, it might take you more time in your life to take out of work to go through everything, but you'll be better prepared when you're out house hunting to know what options are available to you. Whether you have to take one option because you need your closing costs and your prepaids paid, or do you not? And that's what going into the first-time homebuyer loan is, understanding those options as well. Another pitfall to avoid is actually making sure you are aware of all the costs, because if a seller is not going to help pay for some of those costs, they're ultimately your responsibility. And people use the word down payment all the time, but another big cost is closing costs and prepaids, which are taxes and insurance. So understanding what those are and look and feel like, so you're prepared if a seller comes back with any kind of counteroffer, so you're ready to go at any point in time. We at Mortgage Specialists work with all of these loan types, and we have for 25 years. We're here to help educate and guide you to make the best decision for you, regardless if it's a first-time homebuyer loan, your fifth house, a vacation home, a rental property, a second home, whatever the case may be, we are experiencing these products to show you the pros and the cons of everything that's out there, because I feel that's the most important item in obtaining a mortgage, is knowing all the goods and the bads about what decision you are making. I'm Brent Rasmussen of Mortgage Specialist. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Comment, leave us a question below. There's no such thing as a dumb question, and we're here to help and assist at any point in time. At 402-991-5153, or you can check us out on our website at mtg-specialist.com. Have a great rest of your day. Mortgage Specialists. Driven, trusted, reliable.